Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today's topic is that of redemption, and that shouldn't be too surprising given the number of Red Dead videos on my channel. However, the unique thing about today's video is that it's actually kind of a response video, which I don't think I've ever done before. So I was sitting at my desk, procrastinating and trying not to get any work done, and so naturally I opened up YouTube. I figured watching a YouTube video on my other screen is the perfect way to make sure that I don't focus on what's going on my main screen. After a few videos about why various companies are failing or have failed, I was recommended a video made by a channel called DJ Peach Cobbler, called Elden Ring Feels Like the End. I figured, hell, why not? I've played that game and made a video or two. Let's see what this guy is yapping on about. Turns out the video was very good and made some great points, and he was really funny, so I ended up watching it all the way to the end, and perhaps even dropping a like on it. And that's when it happened. My recommendations and homepage are now entirely DJ Peach Cobbler. Not much of a complaint yet, as I did enjoy the first video, so I didn't have the gut-wrenching regret of needing to fix my recommendations, like when I watched some stupid Watch Mojo list video and get recommended nothing else for a week or two. I figured I could live with YouTube telling me to watch more of this guy's stuff, so of course when it put a video titled The Redemption of Cyberpunk 2077 in front of me, the natural thing to do was click on that bad boy and check it out. After all, my work wasn't going to not do itself, and the video was yet again pretty good. At moments it was funny, and it was all pretty well made, and I agreed with a lot of what he was saying. Going into the video, I figured he would be addressing what has changed in Cyberpunk since release, and given that I actually haven't played it at all since then, I was pretty intrigued. That is not what the video was about. It was more of a critique of the state of the game at release and the fact that essentially, no matter how much they may try to fix it now, or quote-unquote redeem themselves, it doesn't change what the game was/is. It was also a critique of sloppy game design and lack of identity in a game, which I think is a very fair critique of Cyberpunk 2077. I do not take issue with any of the fundamental points of the video as they relate to Cyberpunk 2077 or game design and development as a whole, and I wholeheartedly recommend checking the video out for yourself and giving it a watch, so I'll have it linked in the description. The only thing I took issue with, and the whole point of making this video, is the framing he used for the video, which was the topic of redemption, and whether or not it matters. And for this, he used the end of Red Dead Redemption as an argument that redemption doesn't matter. This is what I disagree with. So first of all, I would argue that he is misinterpreting the story, ending, and overall meaning of Red Dead Redemption. In his interpretation, John was trying to redeem himself so he could live a peaceful life on his farm with his family and stop the cycle of violence. That's why he wasn't being a criminal anymore. And that's why he had to hunt down his former gang members and bring them to justice. That's why you, as the player, decided to do the honorable thing whenever given the chance throughout the game. And in the video, DJ Peach Cobbler has a small skit where some lawmen go to the son of a man and say that they won't be bringing John Marston to justice because he had redeemed himself. It was very amusing and gets his point across, but it helps to illustrate why his view on redemption is so flawed. Redemption is not the same thing as restitution. Restitution is a legal or otherwise earthly process of compensation for losses or damages done. Many people would call this justice or compensation, but it is the process of doing what is possible to rectify the wrongs that you have done to people or their property. If you stole something from someone or damaged their property in some other way, the restitution for this would be to pay for the damages, or the cost to replace the thing you stole from them. If you beat someone to a pulp or hit them with your car, the restitution could be that you have to pay their medical bills, or their lost wages during their recovery time. If you kill someone, the restitution, although it's a stretch to apply that concept here, is usually that you either die as well or go to prison for a set duration of time. Redemption can have many meanings, and in modern times, it's misused more often than not to be very loosely applied. Sure, you could redeem a coupon for something, or you could say that someone has redeemed their public image after doing something really bad, but these are misuses of the word. After all, there are other words that specifically apply to those things, and why use a word that could generally apply when you could use one that specifically applies to a situation? Redemption, both in its actual meaning and the intended meaning in the games, is not about justice for other people or a comfortable lifestyle outside of crime. Redemption is a spiritual goal, meant entirely for the person's soul. Now I know that right there is automatically going to turn a lot of people off, because the greatest cardinal sin amongst gamers is insulting FromSoft's storytelling approach, but only slightly less well known is talking about anything spiritual or, dare I even say it, religious. But I had to make this video because the fact that Rockstar obviously intended the quote redemption in both of their games to be a redemption of the man in question, and not his future or his reputation. John didn't seek redemption so he could retire to domestic life. That was merely the channel of his redemption. To redeem himself for his evil past, John needed to stop being a violent criminal and live a life of honest work and love for his family. He needed to do good for people and try to make restitution for his past sins to those he had hurt, and potentially to those he had never even met. John needed to become a good and honest man, because the redemption he sought was for his soul. This is even more obvious and much easier to stomach for most people when you're talking about Arthur. He knows he is dying, and it is the direct result of his evil actions. He caught tuberculosis beating a man to death for a few dollars. That should be in the dictionary as the definition of the phrase just desserts. Arthur, through his evil actions, had earned the fate he receives. There is no way you can undo the path that leads to his infection, and once that happens, Arthur will die. You can then choose his path towards death, to be as good as possible, help as many people as possible, and make sure that everything he does has some sort of a meaning to someone. Or you can choose the path of least resistance, which would be to continue being a criminal until death. If you look at this choice through a humanistic lens of restitution, what difference does it make? Arthur will die. Either way, and his story is over. He will not get married, have kids, live on a farm, or ride off into the sunset. He will die. So what's the point of redemption? Is it that you won't get into trouble for what you did? Is it that people will remember you fondly? Is it that you won't feel guilty about the bad things you did in your past? No. Obviously, it's not any of those things. In his video, DJ Peach Cobbler even shows the famous clip of the strange man from Red Dead Redemption. It's one of my all-time favorite moments of the game, and it literally spells out the exact meaning of John's storyline and his, quote, redemption. This man, whether you think he is God, the devil, John's guardian angel, or just death itself, knows John better than he knows himself. He knows what John has done. He knows what John is doing, and he knows what is going to happen to John. There are 3 encounters in the I Know You mission, and John has the option of 2 interactions. One where he can encourage a man to cheat on his wife or talk him out of it, and another where he can donate money to the poor or rob and kill the nun collecting it. But no matter which choices you pick, the final scene of I Know You plays out the same. The man tells John that he is an accountant and that John will be accountable for his action. He then remarks that the spot they're standing on, the same spot where John will eventually be buried, is a nice spot, then walks away. As he does this, John angrily shoots at the man point blank to no effect. John and Arthur are both going to die. As surely as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, they both die, no matter what choices you make for them. No matter how many good deeds you do or how many evil actions you take, both of their stories end in death. Or do they? If you view the redemption as an earthly endeavor, then it wouldn't be odd to walk away thinking that either they failed to redeem themselves, or that in the end, redemption wasn't worth it, because they still died. In Arthur's case, John would go on to die not long afterwards when his past caught up with him. And then in John's case, Jack would follow his father's footsteps and murder Agent Ross out of revenge. So their redemption wasn't that someone else would live a virtuous life for them either. So, are they redeemed? Well, let's use something a little more concrete and yet less black and white to clear this up. If someone does something bad, and I mean really bad, say they spend the first 10 years of their adult life dealing drugs and engaging in constant violent crime. Maybe they mug people or rob stores at gunpoint, or maybe even murder someone. Can they be redeemed? Where's the line? Surely they could feasibly pay restitution for property they have damaged or stolen. They could donate their time and money to help the people in need. They could make sure that they live the most virtuous life possible for whatever time they have left on Earth, even if they have to do it from a jail cell. Guess what? That person will also die, whether it's the next day from a bullet out of the barrel of some other thug's gun, or they're sentenced to death by the state, or they're hit by a car, or they contract a fatal disease, or they just die of old age. They will die. You will die. I will die. Everyone dies. Does that mean that we shouldn't strive to be good? Does that mean that once we have done something bad, we cannot be redeemed? Of course not. And that is the black and white story of both Red Dead Redemption games. Obviously, the honor system is simplistic, but it's not a marker for the character's public reputation or their internal guilt level. It's who they are inside. It is their soul. The goal of redemption isn't a comfortable retirement or to assuage one's own guilt. The goal of redemption is being redeemed, confessing your sins, being forgiven for your sins, and doing penance for your sins, and then going forth and sinning no more. The goal of redemption is eternal. Like the stranger said, he knows you, and you will be accountable for your actions. It's not a threat. It's not even a promise. It just is. We're all imperfect beings living in a fallen world, surrounded by temptation, and oftentimes, the easy way is the bad way. It takes strength to be good. Evil is the result of weakness, laziness, and apathy. John and Arthur's deaths aren't in spite of their redemption, they're part of it. The final stage of their penance, if you will. And with that final step, either you are redeemed, or you're not. All of this is to say that, yes, of course redemption is worth it, and it matters. For the majority of people, it matters more than anything in their life ever will, because no matter what you do, your life on Earth will at some point end. What comes next? Well, that's why redemption is so important. As far as DJ Peach Cobbler's video, The Redemption of Cyberpunk 2077 goes, I do not disagree with his premise, merely with his interpretation of the meaning of Red Dead's story. Either that, or the definition of the word redemption. CD Projekt Red is working on making restitution for the game they released. They're patching it, and planning additional content to make the game closer to what they promised and or what their customers paid for. It's obviously not important enough to warrant redemption, but they are at least trying to do the right thing. Whether or not it's worth it is ultimately pretty subjective. Maybe they will see a huge boost in secondary sales and a second life, like No Man's Sky did after years of additional development. Maybe they will repair their reputation as a developer, or maybe they'll just make it up in The Witcher 4, when they get everything perfect and deliver all that will be promised and more. You cannot change the past. Similarly, the future is mostly beyond your control, and even the best intentions and actions may not yield the desired result. However, this doesn't make restitution, or certainly redemption, a goal that isn't worth striving for. I would argue that both of those facts have little, if any, bearing at all on whether or not you should do the right thing. So, is it worth it? Perhaps not monetarily, but in every other sense, most certainly. And that's all I have to say on that topic. Like I said, I don't dislike this creator, and I thought the video in question was excellent. I am, however, one to argue semantics, and in this case, it was enough to spur me to do what I have never done before, and make a full response video. I hope you found it thought-provoking and perhaps meaningful. I will have his video linked in the description, and I definitely recommend that you give it a watch, if for nothing else for its obvious entertainment value. But thanks for watching, and have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.